The emergency alert from Reese's neural implant startled him as he completed his routine checks on Lunar Kepler's life support. The holographic notification displayed an unfamiliar error code originating from the alien artifact sector. Another relic acting up, he grumbled, grabbing his toolkit. These late-night calls were increasing, a testament to the station's aging equipment and the demanding nature of the extraterrestrial technology they housed. The metallic hallways echoed with his footsteps as he made his way to Section AA7. A soft hiss announced the opening of the preservation chamber doors, revealing rows of alien artifacts bathed in soft blue light. A peculiar hum emanated from a device in the far corner, a sleek, pearlescent contraption resembling a washing machine but far more advanced than any terrestrial model. Its surface shimmered with shifting patterns in the dim light. "Hello? Is anyone there? I require assistance," a melodic voice called from within the device, making Reese jump. He hurried towards the sound, his heart pounding. "I'm here, I'm Reese, the station technician. Are you all right?" "Not injured, precisely," the otherworldly voice responded, "just confined. Could you assist me in exiting this cleansing unit?" Peering through the transparent panel, Reese was stunned. Inside was a woman of striking beauty. Her skin, a captivating shade of azure, shimmered in the device's light. Her luminescent, flowing silver hair framed a delicate face, and her eyes held the depth and sparkle of distant galaxies. "I'm Reese," he stammered, trying to sound professional despite his racing pulse. "How did you end up in there?" "I'm Lyra," she replied, shifting uncomfortably. "I was attempting to utilize this emotional equilibrium device, but it seems to have malfunctioned." She pressed a hand against the panel, and Reese noticed her fingers left shimmering trails of light where they touched. "Let me see the control panel," he said, moving closer. As he reached for the interface, his hand brushed against hers. A jolt of energy coursed through him, not painful, but exhilarating, like a surge of pure starlight. He pulled back, startled. Lyra gasped, her hair briefly flaring brighter. "Oh, that was unexpected. I apologize, I didn't intend to." Her cheeks deepened in color. "Sorry," Reese fumbled with his tools, acutely aware of the lingering tingle where their hands had touched. "It's fine," Lyra reassured him, her voice a little breathless. "It's just my species. We're not accustomed to physical contact. Especially with males. It's discouraged." Studying the unfamiliar symbols on the control panel, Reese guessed, strictly regulated? "Precisely," Lyra confirmed, her gaze fixed on his movements. "We strive to maintain emotional balance. These chambers assist in safely releasing accumulated feelings." Reese tried a sequence of symbols, causing the machine to emit a low hum. "And how is that working out for you?" Lyra's light laugh filled the chamber. "Not particularly well, given my current predicament." She shifted again, and Reese couldn't help but notice her form-fitting attire. He quickly returned his attention to the controls. "Maybe if I just—" He reached for another control, and their hands brushed again. This time the sensation was more intense. Lyra's sharp intake of breath suggested she felt it too. "That's intense," she whispered, eyes wide. "Our emotional energies seem to be resonating." Reese fought to concentrate as waves of pleasant tingling washed over him. "Is this dangerous? Should I stop?" "No," Lyra said quickly, then composed herself. "I mean, not dangerous. Just overwhelming. On my world, we dedicate our lives to managing these feelings. But now—" Her voice trailed off, her skin pulsing with waves of azure light. "Right," Reese said, trying to maintain a professional demeanor while his heart hammered in his chest. "Let's focus on getting you out. Though I have to admit, this isn't exactly covered in the standard maintenance manual." Lyra's laughter filled the chamber again, and Reese smiled as he continued working. He noticed Lyra seemed to lean into each accidental touch, her breathing quickening slightly each time. The machine's humming began to synchronize with their heartbeats, creating an intimate atmosphere that made focusing increasingly difficult. The humming of the chamber intensified, almost a thrumming now, resonating with the quickening pulse Ryan felt beneath his fingertips. Lania's azure skin shimmered, the light tracing patterns that seemed to mirror the shifting symbols on the control panel. "This is extraordinary," she breathed, her luminescent hair swirling around her like a miniature nebula. "On my world, we spend lifetimes learning to control these energies. And now?" Ryan prompted, his voice a little rough, his focus wavering between the complex alien script and the captivating woman just inches away. "Now," Lania repeated, her eyes meeting his, "it seems all those lessons are being re-evaluated." Her hand, still intertwined with his through the panel opening, tightened its grip. The chamber hummed again, the lights flickering in response to their intertwined emotional energies. "This device, it's not just a purifier. It's a conduit." Ryan's engineering instincts kicked in, despite the overwhelming sensations coursing through him. "A conduit? For what?" "For connection," Lania whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "It amplifies and synchronizes feelings. Not just within the chamber, but beyond." She gestured towards the transparent panel, her fingers tracing the outlines of the symbols, which were now glowing with an almost unbearable intensity. "It's linked to the station's power grid. We're broadcasting our state." Ryan's eyes widened as he grasped the implications. "The entire station? Everyone's feeling this?" He glanced at the diagnostic readouts on his wrist console. The energy readings were spiking, fluctuating wildly. This could be a problem. "Indeed," Lania confirmed, her voice a mixture of wonder and concern. "My people have strict protocols for managing these energies. Uncontrolled release can be disruptive." Just then, a series of melodic chimes echoed through the station, followed by an announcement from the usually stoic ship's AI. "Attention all personnel. We are experiencing unusual atmospheric fluctuations. Please remain calm and embrace the positive energy." The AI's voice trailed off, replaced by what sounded suspiciously like a giggle. Ryan and Lania exchanged worried glances. "I think disruptives might be an understatement," Ryan muttered, just as another wave of energy washed over them, making the chamber lights pulse like a disco ball. Through the panel, they saw two security officers, usually paragons of professionalism, holding hands and gazing at each other with dreamy expressions. "We need to contain this," Lania stated, her voice regaining its usual composure. "Before the entire station succumbs to uncontrolled emotional expression." Ryan nodded, trying to ignore the insistent tug of her hand through the panel. "Right. Contain it. Any ideas?" "The conduit can be reversed," Lania explained, pointing to a complex series of symbols on the control panel. "If we can modulate the frequency, we can dampen the effect. But it will require precise adjustments." Ryan studied the unfamiliar script, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Precise adjustments while experiencing the full brunt of the emotional broadcast? Sounds like fun." He gave Lania a wry smile. "Challenging, perhaps," she corrected, her eye sparkling with a mixture of amusement and something else, something that made Ryan's pulse quicken again. "But not impossible. Especially if we collaborate." Her fingers tightened around his once more. The chamber hummed, anticipating their next move. The fate of the station's emotional equilibrium rested in their hands, intertwined through a panel of ancient alien technology, and for a moment, neither of them could quite bring themselves to mind. The chamber's hum intensified, shifting into a resonant thrum that vibrated through Ryan, mirroring the quickened pulse he felt beneath his fingertips where his hand rested against Lania's through the panel opening. Her azure skin shimmered, the light tracing patterns that echoed the shifting symbols on the control panel. "Remarkable," she breathed, her luminescent hair swirling around her. "On my world, we dedicate our lives to mastering these energies." "And now?" Ryan prompted, his voice a little strained as he divided his attention between the intricate alien script and the captivating woman inches away. "Now," Lania echoed, her gaze locking with his, "it appears those lessons are being reconsidered." Her hand tightened its grip on his. The chamber hummed again, the lights flickering in response to their intertwined energies. This device, it's not merely a purifier. It's a conduit. Ryan's engineering instinct surfaced, even as a wave of unfamiliar sensations washed over him. A conduit? For what? For connection, Lania whispered, her voice thick with emotion. It amplifies and harmonizes feelings. Not just within this chamber, but beyond. She gestured towards the transparent panel, her fingers tracing the glowing symbols. It's linked to the station's power grid. We're sharing our current state. Ryan's eyes widened as the implications hit him. The entire station? Everyone is experiencing this? He glanced at the readouts on his wrist console. The energy readings were erratic, fluctuating wildly. This isn't good. Indeed, Lania confirmed, a mix of awe and apprehension in her voice. My people have strict protocols for managing these energies. Unregulated release can be destabilizing. At that moment, a series of melodic chimes echoed through the station, followed by an announcement from the ship's typically composed AI. Attention personnel. The station is experiencing atypical atmospheric conditions. Please remain calm and connect with the enhanced ambience. The AI's voice trailed off, replaced by what sounded suspiciously like a contented sigh. Ryan and Lania exchanged uneasy glances. I think destabilizing is putting it mildly, Ryan muttered, just as another wave of energy washed over them, making the chamber lights pulse. Through the panel, they saw two security officers, normally the epitome of professionalism, holding hands and gazing at each other dreamily. We need to control this, Lania said, her voice regaining its composure. Before the entire station succumbs to unrestrained emotional responses. Ryan nodded, trying to ignore the pull of her hand through the panel. Right. Control it. Any suggestions? The conduit can be reversed, Lania explained, indicating a complex sequence of symbols on the control panel. If we can adjust the frequency, we can dampen the effect. But it will require meticulous calibration. Ryan studied the alien script, his brow furrowed. Meticulous calibration while experiencing the full force of this emotional broadcast? That sounds challenging. He gave Lania a wry smile. Mostly loneliness, Sarah replied softly. It's like watching a grandiose performance, but you can't take part in it. You see how worlds are born and die, how stars come on and go out, and you're still the same. Unchangeable. She paused, as if listening to something. But there are times. Sarah continued after a pause, when I feel the pulsation of the universe itself. It's like a symphony written in the language of light and energy. The pulsing energy of the chamber intensified, growing warmer with each shared glance between Ryan and Lania. The air crackled with an almost tangible energy, drawing them closer. Their breathing fell into sync with the low hum of the alien device, their heartbeats echoing the rhythmic pulses of light that danced across the chamber walls. Ryan's hand, still trembling slightly, reached out to trace the delicate curve of Lania's cheek. Her skin, bathed in the ethereal blue light, shimmered like a starlit sky. Lania leaned into his touch, her eyes, bright and sparkling, locked onto his. With each passing moment, the world outside the chamber faded, eclipsed by the undeniable pull between them. The station, the malfunction, their responsibilities, all became distant echoes, drowned out by the symphony of their shared emotions. Their breaths mingled as their faces drew closer, the air between them thrumming with anticipation. The station's AI, now sounding suspiciously like a lovesick poet, chose that moment to interrupt. Attention all personnel, it announced, its voice a melodic drone, I have composed a new sonnet dedicated to the beauty of binary code. Also, all escape pods have been redesignated as vessels of interstellar affection. Management apologizes for any resulting confusion. Through the chamber's transparent walls, they watched as the station's normally stern chief of operations twirled past, adorned with a makeshift crown of fiber-optic cables, serenading his longtime assistant with a surprisingly passionate recitation of maintenance protocols. We really should focus on fixing this, Lania murmured, her voice barely a whisper, even as she leaned closer, her luminous hair brushing against Ryan's cheek. Absolutely, Ryan agreed, his voice equally hushed, his gaze fixed on her lips. Right after, their lips met in a kiss that sent a shockwave of energy through the chamber, amplifying the pulsing lights and causing the air to shimmer around them. The ancient device hummed in response, the symbols on its surface glowing with a newfound intensity. Somewhere in the distance, they heard the sound of the entire engineering department erupting in applause. The station's chief medical officer has just diagnosed everyone with a mild case of enhanced emotional responsiveness, the AI announced cheerfully. She prescribes increased interpersonal connection and has updated the medical manual to include a sudden attraction as a normal physiological response. As Ryan and Lania finally broke apart, breathless, they noticed the chamber pulsing with a new, unfamiliar frequency. The symbols on its surface shifted and rearranged themselves into patterns neither had seen before. I think, Lania said, her eyes wide with wonder, we may have activated something more than just an emotional amplifier. Is that good or bad? Ryan asked, his hand instinctively reaching for hers as he noticed the energy waves spreading and synchronizing across the station's systems. I'm not sure, Lania replied, her gaze fixed on the shifting symbols. But I have a feeling we're about to find out. The chamber's hum deepened, resonating through the station. It felt as if the entire structure was holding its breath, waiting, anticipating. Whatever was coming, it was clear their accidental experiment in interstellar connection was about to reach its climax. Ryan took Lania's hand, his fingers interlacing with hers. Well, he said, a smile playing on his lips as the energy built around them, at least we'll go down in history as the couple who turned the galaxy's most efficient space station into a cosmic love nest. Lania's laughter echoed through the chamber, the sound like the chime of distant bells, just as the final wave of energy began to build. The chamber's hum deepened, resonating through the station like a heartbeat. Ryan and Lania exchanged a look, a silent acknowledgement of the escalating energy swirling around them. The symbols on the control panel shimmered, rearranging themselves into a configuration neither recognized. I think, Lania began, her voice hushed with awe, we may have triggered something beyond a simple emotional amplifier. Good or bad? Ryan asked, his hand instinctively finding hers. The energy readings on his wrist console were spiking erratically, mirroring the pulsating light that now filled the chamber. He could sense the energy spreading, weaving its way through the station's systems like a living current. Eric, mesmerized by her proximity and the intriguing possibility, took Sarah's hand. I'll take my chances, he replied, feeling a wave of warm energy pass through his body. At the same moment, the room around them began to transform, the walls became ephemeral, and the furniture dissolved into a whirlwind of iridescent colors and incredible shapes. Eric instinctively squeezed Sarah's hand tighter, preparing for Ryan squeezed Lania's hand. Well, he said, a smile playing on his lips, at least we'll be remembered as the pair who turned the galaxy's most advanced space station into a cosmic love nest. Lania's laughter, like the chime of wind chimes, filled the chamber just as the final wave of energy washed over them. The air crackled, and the symbols on the panel blazed with an almost blinding light. Then, silence. The humming ceased. The pulsating light faded. For a moment, they were suspended in a strange, breathless stillness. Then, the chamber doors hissed open, revealing, not the sterile, metallic corridor they expected, but a vibrant, otherworldly landscape. Lush vegetation in hues they'd never seen before swayed in a gentle breeze under a sky filled with swirling nebulae. Strange, bioluminescent creatures flitted through the air, leaving trails of sparkling light. Lania gasped, stepping forward. This is incredible. Where are we? Ryan followed, his senses overwhelmed by the alien beauty. I have no idea, he admitted, but my guess is that emotional purification wasn't the chamber's primary function. I think we may have activated some kind of portal. He glanced back at the chamber, its surface now smooth and featureless, as if it had never held any controls at all. Lania reached out, touching a glowing plant. It responded by unfurling a delicate, iridescent blossom. Perhaps, she said, her voice filled with wonder, this is the true purpose of the device. Not to suppress emotions, but to transport them, to connect us with something more. Just then, a group of the bioluminescent creatures gathered around them, their tiny forms radiating warmth and a sense of welcome. Ryan and Lanier exchanged a look, a silent understanding passing between them. Whatever the chamber's true purpose, they had stumbled into something extraordinary. Their accidental connection had opened a door to a world beyond their wildest imaginings, a world that seemed to resonate with the very emotions they had so recently unleashed. And as they stood hand in hand, bathed in the otherworldly light, they knew their adventure had only just begun.